Clara woke up in a cold sweat. The visions were back, those vivid, intrusive images from a future that filled her with dread. This time, she saw a vast grey city shrouded in a thick, impenetrable fog. People scurried like shadows through the streets, their faces blank and expressionless. A sense of despair and hopelessness pressed down on Clara's chest. These visions had been haunting her for years, recurring, becoming more intense with each passing day. At first, they were just fleeting glimpses, disconnected scenes that lingered in her memory days later. But over time, they grew more detailed, more intense, more real. Clara was an artist, painting her visions on canvas, trying to decipher their meaning. But every time she thought she was getting closer to the truth, the images would dissolve, leaving her with more questions than answers. One day she met a man named Samuel, a strange, reclusive man who studied the human mind. He was interested in Clara's visions and believed they weren't just mere fantasy, but held a deeper meaning. Samuel conducted experiments with Clara, hypnotic sessions, to explore the source of her visions. He believed she could actually see the future, but that the images were being manipulated by an unknown force. This manipulation, he suspected, could be the source of Clara's fear, the reason she perceived the future as bleak and hopeless. But Clara had a suspicion. The visions weren't just images, they were emotions, raw, unbridled fear that coursed through her like a cold wind. She began to focus on these emotions, the deep sadness, the despair in the faces of the people in her visions. One night, in a deep hypnotic trance that Samuel induced, Clara began to paint. She didn't paint the grey city, not the desolate faces, but the emotions themselves. She painted fear in vibrant colours, darkness in luminous shadows. Suddenly, amidst her work, she felt a jolt, a surge through her body. The colours on her canvas came alive, pulsating, radiating an energy she had never experienced before. Clara opened her eyes and saw Samuel, his face filled with surprise and awe. He looked at the canvas and said, "This is it, Clara. This is the key." The canvas Clara had painted was no longer just a picture. It was a doorway, a portal to another dimension. The colours seemed to breathe, the shadows danced. Clara felt she had the power to open this door, to cross the line between reality and vision. She walked toward the canvas, her feet floating above the ground as if she were walking on clouds. Samuel reached for her, tried to hold her back, but it was too late. She disappeared into the canvas, vanishing into the darkness that enveloped her. The world around her dissolved, the colors, the shadows, the emotions merging into a vortex. She felt an immense force, an energy coursing through her, lifting her, making her the center of the universe. When she opened her eyes, she was in a room that was no longer gray, but radiant white. She stood on a platform, surrounded by machines that hummed with flashing lights and pulsing colors. Her heart beat in time with the machine, her soul vibrated with the energy of the room. Before her stood a being, human in form, but enveloped in a radiant golden light. It spoke in a voice that wasn't made of words, but of vibrations, of pure emotion. Clara realized she hadn't just seen the future, she possessed the power to change it. She had broken through the manipulation of those who had used her visions to sow fear and despair. She had taken control of her own future. The task entrusted to her wasn't easy, but Clara was ready. She would use her art, her creativity, her emotions to change the world, to shape the future she envisioned for everyone. She would turn the shadows of tomorrow into light,